Good evening and welcome to Just the News. I'm Faye D'Souza. Thank you for joining us. This is, of course, our first bulletin of the new year. So happy new year to you. We do hope that this year, leaves us COVID-free by the end of the year, but we're not COVID-free right now. To begin with, a lot of our news at the top is about COVID. The Election Commission, for example, has written to the Chief Secretary, which is the senior-most IS officer in the state government, and asked that the 5 poll-bound states that are going into election early next year speed up the pace of their vaccination programs. This comes after the Commission had a press conference in Lucknow last week, remember, where it said that the elections are not going to be postponed, they will happen on time, but they are going to speed up the vaccination process in these poll-bound states. Earlier, of course, a judge in the Allahabad High Court had urged the Prime Minister and the Election Commission to take strong steps to consider stopping or postponing rallies, meetings and elections in view of rising cases. However, the Election Commission said that all the political parties in Uttar Pradesh want assembly elections as per schedule, and that's why that decision was made. Elections are scheduled to be held in Uttar Pradesh, Punjab, Uttarakhand, Goa and Manipur this year. Let's take a look at India's Omicron tally. Now, the number of Omicron cases have actually gone up quite a bit. We're currently at 1,700 cases of the new variant. Maharashtra topping that list with 510, followed by Delhi, which has 351 new cases. Delhi reported 4,099 COVID cases altogether, of which 351 were Omicron. Mumbai reported 8,082 new COVID cases in the last 24 hours. Now, altogether in the country, we have reported 33,750 new COVID cases and 123 deaths in the last 24 hours. Goa has decided to impose a night curfew after there were visuals that did the rounds on social media of an extremely crowded Baga beach. Like really crowded Baga beach over the weekend. Goa has now imposed a night curfew from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. Also, schools and colleges will be closed until the 26th of January. As per this notice, Goa has reported a positivity rate of 10.7% on Sunday. That's quite high. And also over 300 cases, 5 of which are of the Omicron variant. In Mumbai, schools will close again for classes 1 to 9 and for class 11 with immediate effect until the end of the month. Classes 10 and 12 will continue physically. Vaccination camps have been started in school campuses as well for those between the ages of 15 and 18. Remember, Mumbai reported over 8,000 cases of COVID just in the last 24 hours. Rajasthan has announced restrictions on the number of people attending political and other rallies, dharnas, fairs and weddings down to 100. It has also ordered closure of schools in Jaipur city for classes 1 to 8 from January 3rd to January 9th. Following a report in the BBC titled "How India Missed Its Vaccination Target," the central government has said these media reports are misleading and doesn't present the complete picture. It also compared the progress of the country's vaccination program to other countries like the US, UK, France and Spain. In a statement, the Health Ministry said, and I quote, "The recently published news article by a reputed international news agency claimed that India has missed its vaccination target. This is misleading. In the fight against the global pandemic, India's national COVID vaccination program has been one of the most successful, largest vaccination programs compared to many other developed Western nations, where there's been a significantly low population base to vaccinate." And it goes on to say that in India, at least 90% of the eligible population has received 1 dose and 65% of the adult population has received 2 doses, comparing that with the rest of the world. But we must point out here that earlier this year, there was in fact an announcement made by Mr. Prakash Javadekar, who announced that India will vaccinate its entire population by the end of the year, which is end of 2021, which has come and gone. This announcement was made in May last year. So if you take that announcement, that is a deadline that we have in fact missed. Although all of the things that the government says is true, that we do have achieved 65% coverage of a very large population. It depends on how you look at the news. South Korea on Monday confirmed its first 2 deaths linked to the Omicron variant. The patients, both of which were in their 90s, passed away on the 29th of December. And they were tested for the variant posthumously. South Korea has reported 1,318 cases of the new variant. Israel has reported the first case of what is being called Flurona, which is influenza and COVID. It's a mixture of these two viruses. According to local reports, the patient is a young pregnant woman who is in hospital, although her symptoms are mild. The Israeli Health Ministry has said it's studying the case to determine whether it's a combination of two infections that can cause a more serious illness. She's the first documented case to be diagnosed with both diseases simultaneously, and the doctors believe that there may be more cases as such in the country. In other news, although staying with healthcare, remember we talked to you about the strike that the doctors are on right now because their placements into PG colleges have not happened. So there's an entire batch of doctors who have completed MBBS but have not been given their postgraduate admissions. So they're just sitting at home at this point. Now, an update on that entire thing. The resident doctors have been protesting since November, asking for those admissions to happen. The central government has now filed an affidavit with the Supreme Court and decided to accept the recommendations of a 3-member panel to retain the current gross income limit of 8 lakh rupees for economically weaker sections of society. There was actually an added 10% reservation that was placed for those who are economically weaker. And it was defined as those families who have an income of less than 8 lakh rupees a year. It said that there is a genuine urgency in the matter. Petitions have been challenged to the July 29 notification providing this reservation. The Supreme Court bench had actually asked the central government to look into the matter. The next hearing will happen on the 6th of January. According to NDTV, Uttar Pradesh police has filed a 5,000-page charge sheet in the Lakhimpur Kheri violence incident, naming Ajay Mishra's son Ashish Mishra as prime accused. Remember, Ajay Mishra remains a minister in the Home Ministry of the Government of India. Union Minister Ajay Mishra's name has not been mentioned in the charge sheet, but his relative Virendra Shukla is one of the names as well. This is according to Senior Prosecution Officer SP Yadav. If the court accepts this charge sheet, the trial for the case will start on a date given by the court. Remember, 8 people died, 4 farmers, 1 journalist, 2 BJP workers. There was a car, an SUV that drove through a group of farmers, killing some of them. That was the incident. The Ministry for Electronics and Information Technology Minister Ashwini Vaishnav has ordered an investigation into complaints that a website hosted doctored and lewd pictures and objectionable comments aimed to insult Muslim women. The Indian Computer Emergency Response System, the nodal agency for monitoring cybersecurity incidents and related threats, has been asked to perform a high-level committee probe into the incident and coordinate with cyber cells of various state police forces. On Sunday, separate FIRs were registered in this case by police in Delhi and in Mumbai against unknown people who have developed this app. The Mumbai police has booked certain Twitter handles for disseminating content on charges of stalking, defamation, promoting enmity, and posting lewd comments. The National Commission for Women has written to the Delhi Police Commissioner Rakesh Asthana seeking immediate action. Basically, this was an app that provided what was called Suli deals, auctioning women on this app. Auctioning Muslim women. So basically their identities were picked up, their photographs were picked up, and they were put on auction on this app. This is the second time it is happening. It is the most terrible kind of offense against women, and we hope that the police takes action immediately. Following the terrible stampede that was reported this weekend, the Sri Mata Vaishno Devi Shrine Board has now announced that it will only take bookings for the yatra online. Remember, 12 people were killed in that stampede and several others injured. According to the Indian Express, the board has said that no more than 25,000 people are going to be allowed anymore. According to officials, an average of 2,000 yatra slips are issued online, 28,000 are issued in person on arrival. 15 lakh rupees compensation has been announced for the families of the deceased. A 3-member committee has been set up by the Jammu and Kashmir government who visited the stampede spot to find out the causes. Shiv Sena leader and member of parliament Priyanka Chaturvedi has raised concerns about the makeup of the committee that's looking into the bill about the legal age of marriage for women in India. Remember, there was a proposal to move the legal age from 18 to 21. A committee was set up to study that proposal. She stressed on the fact that it's a group of 31 people with only one woman in it. That one woman is West Bengal MP Sushmita Dev. In a letter to the Rajya Sabha chairperson, she has said, and I quote, "It is disheartening to note that a bill so pertinent to women and the Indian society will be deliberated upon by a committee representative which is highly skewed. Therefore, I request you to ensure that there should be more representation and participation of women in the discussion around the bill that concerns the issues faced by women in India." The bill has been criticized by several opposition leaders for its makeup at this point, which is why it has been referred to a committee. Let's take a look now at news coming in from across the world. The Sudanese Prime Minister Hamdok on Sunday announced his resignation in the middle of a political deadlock and widespread pro-democracy protests against him. This comes 6 weeks after he returned to his post in a deal with the coup leaders he argued could save Sudan's political transition. He said that he had decided to give a chance to another man or another woman in this noble country to help pass through what is left of the transition period. The military reinstated Hamdok in November after the coup. However, Sudan's pro-democracy movement denounced that agreement. An ANI report quoting the Kamad press has said the Taliban authorities in Afghanistan have announced the closure of all general baths for women in the northern region of Afghanistan bordering Uzbekistan. Another set of restrictions have been imposed on women. In the new order, it said women can only take showers in private baths while observing the Islamic hijab. However, general baths for men are permitted. Women are also banned from the workplace, from secondary education, and from traveling solo. Things seem to be getting worse for women in Afghanistan on a daily basis. Somehow the world continues to watch quietly. South Korean President Moon Jae-in has promised to push for peace with North Korea during his last months in office. In his New Year's address, he said the government will pursue normalization of inter-Korean relations and the irreversible path to peace until the end. I hope the efforts for dialogue will continue in the next administration, he said. On the other hand, there's been no response from North Korea if they're interested in peace at all. That brings us to the end of the bulletin today. Thank you so much for listening. Do tune in to our YouTube conversation. We've got a couple of medical experts joining us. We're going to talk about whether Omicron is different in terms of the symptoms that you see, in terms of the tests that we're using right now. Does it pop up on the RT-PCR? Are night curfews actually effective? Should we be sending children to school? All of these questions and any question you might have, we've tried and answered all of them. So do take a look at that conversation as well. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. It encourages us to work harder for you. Thank you so much for watching. Good night.